not a bad thing.
Yeah, maybe they
was it at Bobby's
I
house?
always
Oh,
knew
my
who she was, but I never saw anybody have that effect.
Yeah.
What
As
happened?
when Harriet saw her at one of those
Oh,
picnics,
she was so jealous.
she went nuts. She said, "How dare she?" And I'm like, "Where's she supposed to be?"
Yeah,
You know?
and she was,
Wait,
and
she's
she was with
supposed to
her
be-
husband.
Because
How
you
did
know,
Harriet know
do
unless
you
Father
remember?
told her,
Do you
though?
remember Polly and Rosie and Polly?
Polly Stagner.
That's
the
her brother.
of Rose.
We used to go see them. They lived in
Exactly.
San Jose,
Correct.
and they had like these
The
huge cherry trees in their backyard. And they were
You
really good.
remember all that?
I remember
Yeah,
it because
because
I was
your
always
mom-
brought there because she was
Yeah.
good friends
With your mom,
Rosie
Aliva,
and Polly.
yeah.
I have a picture of them
Yeah.
somewhere,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
always wonder what
Polly
happened to
died.
them. Oh.
And Rosie went to Hawaii with her children. But you don't remember them?
Rosie and Polly.
Oh my God.
So they lived in San Jose.
We went there, remember, you used to do the
Mother was
Tai
really
Chi
good
with
friends
this
with
judo
them.
thing.
And I never realized
brother
that
Bunty Rose.
Polly
Yeah,
was
Yeah.
he lived in
Rose
San
That
Jose.
was, remember, we went with picking
Rose
up those
Samet.
cherries and everything.
her. See, because Mother was
Very
she
close.
knew them.
Yeah.
She knew
And
Rose.
She
She
was,
knew.
She was okay with all that.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
she married him, so you know.
Yeah. No,
And
your
Rose
mom
was married.
nice.
She married
John Samet.
Mr.
But do
Samet.
you
So
think do you think Rose and my father were longing for each other all the time?
Oh,
You
but
know,
of
I
course,
think
come
she
on,
was
Jackie.
always
I
fond.
mean, she always talked about Basil.
She grabbed us all. The last time I
Yeah.
saw her, she
And
grabbed
talked
each
to
and every
every
one
one
of
of
us,
you.
and she said, "I wanted to talk to you,
Exactly.
and I wanted to tell you, you know how much your father meant to me."
That's
That's what she
right.
said.
Wow.
Oh
And
yeah, Basil
know,
was her first love. She
yeah.
was beautiful.
But she
looked
had-
like Susan
yeah,
Hayward when
she
she
was
young.
beautiful.
She made movies
Well,
in Hollywood.
she was Darna.
Her eyes were yeah.
She was,
Till she died, she was beautiful.
She was Darna.
She made movies in Hollywood?
Darna?
Yeah,
She was
Yeah.
Darna.
she made The King and I
Yeah, the
and
blonde.
What was her name?
Darna.
Rose Samet.
Darna was the
Not
what's
Rose,
her
Rosa del
la-
Rosario. Rosa
Del
del
She was
Rosario.
Rosario.
Rosa
Oh,
del
yeah.
Rosario because
Yeah.
I remember
Rose
I was
Stagner. Her
I
father
was trying
American.
to find
Beautiful.
I was trying to find out what happened on like a Gen forum. What happened to Rosie and Polly?
Yeah.
To see what happened to them.
Yeah.
And her name came up, and then it said Darna, and I'm like,
Yeah, she was
Darna.
The first.
Yeah,
the
She
first
was the
Dharma.
first
in the
Darna.
Philippines. And she was in a nice house. Remember Dorothy Lamour? She made
Yeah.
a movie in the Philippines like that with Fernando Poe Sr. Your ghost star. Very handsome. Sambuanga was the name
That
of the
was her
movie.
first
Movie.
movie
Yeah.
during years.
But she was the most
She was
beautiful.
very
That was
sweet
when your
woman.
father-
And so
Very
sweet.
She
sweet.
was
And when she
very
met
very-
Harriet,
Yeah.
you know, she was
That
sweet to
was-
Harriet.
oh, but
and Harriet was
Harriet-
very snotty.
She wouldn't
But
stop.
she
It
didn't
was
care
like
because she
on and
talked
on
to
and on.
Basil.
Yeah.
Oh, she
She
talked
was
to
so
Basil.
upset
Hi,
because
Basil.
she
You know,
spoke
Rose
to
is
him.
what she said. Oh, yeah, well, hi, Basil. And you know, your dad, very debonair, he's so
Well, he's a
sweet.
gentleman.
Your dad is a gentleman.
Yeah.
Besides, heck, that was years ago.
And she was
they're both
married. And she
married,
married
and
this
they-
young guy.
That's right.
And that was actually getting to her too.
No, but you remember,
You know?
but you remember
Yeah,
what
John,
she...
Uncle John was a lot younger.
Yeah.
He
I
was a
know.
lot
About
younger than her, and she was like,
20.
"Wow."
And
I was like, "Hey," you know.
No, and then remember when Harriet, when your dad went to heaven, she said,
Yeah.
"Ooh, she's gonna see Rose up there."
That's the
How
first thing she did
stupid.
say.
Because
She'll be
Rose
with
died first,
she'll be
see.
with his wife, her first wife,
And then
and
with
Rose
Summit.
was
Harriet
plaguing
is
her.
not
I thought
stupid.
that's cuckoo.
But she's
Crazy.
nuts.
That's cuckoo.
You know, Jackie from the first day, I even told the girls, Carol and everybody, I never liked her. But
Yeah.
I
Who
love
likes
Basil,
her? Nobody's
so I
like
just stood her. But I mean, I stood her stupidness.
Is Harriet still alive?
She's
still alive.
still
alive.
I mean, you know, she's doing
She's
okay. You
still alive.
communicate.
I don't communicate with her.
Anymore?
I haven't.
No,
I
but
think maybe a month or two after Dad died.
Listen, you did more than your share,
I
honey.
figured my
Obligation.
I put up with a lot of crap
And you did your obligation. And
because
that's it.
I loved him, but I
Exactly.
figured she.
It's not worth it.
She really, what she started to do is, like, as he got older, she tried to basically keep the kids at bay. I'd call and I'd say, "Can I visit
Yeah,
next
I
week?"
hate that.
Not next week, I said. "Well, how about the week after?" I said, "Well, when can I visit?" And she said,
Dad.
"Well, I don't know." So I had mentioned it to Nora, and then she said something to her mother, and then I got to pay a visit. But I just said, at that point he was losing his hearing, he was having many issues. And I just thought, fine, I felt bad for him because he basically had allowed her. to create this
He had no
huge.
strength anymore.
He had no strength.
Honey, at that
He was, I forgive it, pussy whipped, and he basically allowed her to take
Well,
over
he
a lot of his
didn't
family
care.
functions.
Yeah,
he was at the stage that he
When-
was going to go in.
When our mother was alive, he was really, everything was about family.
Of course. Do I
But
know it?
as
'Cause I've
time
seen
got
it.
on,
Yeah.
it became, less. I think they're not really interested in having children as much as having their
She
life.
was that
You know,
I'll
she
tell you
has her
something. You know what I
life.
She
didn't
never-
like, Caroline, is when she made Jackie
Yeah.
and Geraldine kicked them out of the
Yeah.
house. And Jim, I was so mad. And I told this girl that they were welcome to come in my house.
But see,
That's how I hated
Because
it.
that was totally opposite of how
Yeah.
you are, Tessie.
Yeah.
I know you couldn't understand it.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
You know?
But see, he allowed her to do that, and that was always my thing with Dad.
I
As much
think
as
when-
I love
I
him,
think my
he let her
personal-
do that. You know.
How old were you? You at that time? You.
I was-
'cause you
She
were-
was young.
I was probably when you guys left 11.
Yeah.
well,
She was
sweetheart,
young.
it didn't affect you as much as it did Jackie
It
and
definitely
Natalie
But
because.
see, when everybody left,
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
it was horrifying.
Yeah, I know.
It was
But
just
wait a
me and
minute,
Chris.
Caroline. You know how your sister felt.
Yeah.
You know when your mother died, Madeline was married already, so your mother told Jackie to take over,
Yes, and she did everything.
which she did, and she did a beautiful job because Jim and I used to go and visit her,
Yeah.
and she took care of her brothers and then you guys.
She did everything.
And then when Harriet stepped in,
It's just like goodbye, well, but that I blame him because she, I would never do that to my child.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I would never. He was.
Yeah, he was wrong
He
and she
was
was wrong,
wrong,
but you
and-
see, he was blinded by the. Men
Yes,
are
men
different.
are
You will
different.
understand this, Caroline. A man cannot stay long without a woman. Jim's brother Louis, in 6 months when the wife died, he married Eleanor. Men cannot stay with somebody
Look at
because
poor Uncle Ted.
that's
And
what I
if you
mean.
made
That, what's her name?
The
woman,
worst
like a
woman that
woman.
And
he-
she
he
stole
brought him to his
Auntie
death.
Anita's
Jewelry
jewelry,
and
and
everything.
she
Wow.
and he met her in church.
Oh, really? I don't know.
She's like a.
Oh, she
You know,
cornered him and made him marry her.
The saddest
Yeah,
conversation
yeah.
I ever had with
No,
him
with the
lasted
Spanish
about
girl,
2 hours,
Pilar.
and he's telling me on the phone about, and he's crying half of the time about this woman.
Yeah, Uncle
that
Ted.
he said, I was in church. A note gets passed up to me from the back through the pews, and it's this woman saying, basically she knew him in the Philippines.
That's right.
And that's how it started. And at the end, she didn't want the same thing. She didn't want him to have anything to do with the kids.
Of course, because she
cut
wanted
the
everything.
cut the kids, because that is who would say, "Dad, what are
Yeah,
you
you're
doing?"
doing.
And by the end of it, she had Auntie Anita's
Everything.
jewelry,
Everything. The house,
everything.
And they don't know where the
They don't
the
even
poor
know
kids didn't
where
get
anything is.
anything
They got
from their
their
nothing,
mother's things.
nothing.
She took them.
The only thing they had was the house.
The
Which
safe,
they had to sell.
the safe
It
was all
really-
The safe was all
Nada.
taken out, everything.
Oh, empty.
Empty.
But that's true. I don't know why he did that. I'm like, why? He had his kids were there all
Because,
the
like
time.
Tessie's saying,
No.
they need that companionship.
She
Yeah.
was like a con artist. I mean, she really
Well,
was.
that was
She's
exactly
a
what
con
Harriet was.
artist.
Sorry to say this, but that's exactly what Harriet was. But of course, I love your dad. But what can you do? They get blinded
you
to
can't
this,
make
and
somebody
they need
see
somebody
that.
to take care of the
Yeah.
kids because they're out doing the breadwinner. You know what I mean? So he would stop worrying about the kids. But this is what she did.
I'm
She
hire
put
a
him to
nanny.
job. No, you're all or nothing. You should get your own
Harriet had how many
apartment.
kids of her own?
She had
That-
3 kids.
Yeah,
so,
I
you
talked to
know.
Bas. I said, no, I don't want those kids in an apartment. Let them stay with us first.
Well, I wasn't in an apartment. The way I was surviving was I was doing living in babysitting.
You were living
So
in
I worked at, in the daytime I babysat for one family, and then at night, the place that I slept, I babysat those kids while the woman who was a nurse would work at night.
My
So
God.
that's how I survived, and I got $20 a week in spending cash. That's how I survived.
Wow.
So
And she didn't care.
no,
She didn't even call. How you doing?
No,
Oh.
the very first thing happened when I left the house, or when she called me and said, don't come home. And I think I went home and packed things and left. And I called a girlfriend and I said, can I stay with you? Because I had no place to go.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a close friend. I mean, she wasn't an especially close friend. And so I started living with, I stayed with them,
Yeah.
and the parents came to me one day, I mean, I'd been there maybe for a week or something, and said, we love having you here and everything, but is your dad going to give you any money or anything? Because I wasn't paying for anything. I was 17, so I didn't know.
Yeah, that's
So I called, I think I called, and Harriet, of course, she didn't let me talk to my father, and she said, you're not getting a red cent, something like that.
Isn't that
Yeah, isn't she sweet? But then I got a $25 check, which I gave to those people. So at some point she said, yeah. So I gave them the $25, and then it was Harriet lined up the babysitting job, so that I'd have a place to.
Which wanted to get rid of them? I'm
No,
sorry.
she started it early on, because I'll never forget the day that they had that big argument, and I was totally traumatized because she took our mother's china and broke it.
I know.
Oh, do you recall this?
I think I was washing dishes at
She
the time.
broke the china, and
She
we
said-
were like hysterical, and she goes, "It's my china," and
That's
I was
right.
like, "Oh my god, I lost it."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very. I mean,
And you know why?
she's like a nightmare. Believe me.
She's bad. I loved your
Yeah.
mom because we were very close.
Yeah, I remember.
Eva was always with us, and we were very close. Even that's